Hello everyone, welcome to Gradeup. My name is Vikas and in this video I'm going to do an analysis of ESE 2019 paper 2 of Mechanical Engineering. In this video I'm going to tell you what are the number of questions that were asked from the subject of Mechanical, and also I'll be telling what are the major topics that were covered this time. So let's begin. If we see this ESE 2019 prelims paper, this time there has been some major changes that had been noticed, and those major changes are there are more numericals. There were more numerical this time in ESE 2019 prelims. And so if we know that if there were no more numericals, so on what thing that was compromised? The questions to assertion region were compromised to number of numericals. That means previously there used to be 25 to 30 questions from assertion regions, that is totally theoretical type questions. And this time there are only 6 questions from assertion region type question, and that shift in the assertion region type question has been given to numericals. So there were more numerical this time. You can't believe this, that from assertion region the question were from mechatronics and robotics. Mechatronics and robotics was the subject from which the 6 assertion region type questions were there. Okay. So you can't ignore any subject if you are going for ESE examination. From renewable, there were more questions this time. There were total 12 questions from renewable this time. Previously in 17-18 there used to be only 1 and 3 questions from renewable, but this time there were 12 questions from renewable engineering. Okay, and that too theory as well as numerical. Okay, in mechatronics there were 15 questions, and from robotics there were 3 questions this time. So total 18 questions from mechatronics and robotics. Okay, so this was a major change that have been noticed this time in ESE 2019 paper. If we compare this with the help of a pie chart, the number of questions that were allotted to a particular subjects are given here. If you see thermodynamics, there were 6 questions in ESE 2019. In ESE 2019, there were 6 questions from thermodynamics. Okay, and if we compare 17 and 18, from thermodynamics there were 13 and 17 questions. Okay, so this time the number of questions for thermodynamics have been reduced. If you see power plant, there were 19 questions from power plant, and in the previously power plant there were used to be 13 and 12 questions. Okay, in 17-18. So this time the number of questions for power plant have been increased this time. So this is also a major change. Okay, if we see IC engine, in the IC engine previously in 18 there were 12 questions, and in 17 there were 5 questions, but this time there were 6 questions. From refrigeration and air conditioning, there were 8 questions from refrigeration and air conditioning, and previously there used to be 14 and 15 questions in 17-18. So this time the number of questions have been reduced from, refrigeration and air conditioning. Okay, so there were only 8 questions. Heat transfer is the only subject that has maintained its consistency in terms of number of questions, because in 17 and 18 also there were 7 questions from heat transfer, and in this time also there were 7 questions from heat transfer subject. If you see mechatronics there were, and robotics, there were total 5 and 13 questions 17 and 18, but this time mechatronics and robotics total are 18 questions. 15 from mechatronics and 3 from robotics. Okay, so this time total 18 questions from mechatronics and robotics. Previously there were 13 questions in 2018, and in 2017 there were 5 questions from mechatronics and robotics. From engineering mechanics there were only 2 questions this time, but previously there used to be 6 and 4 questions. So this time also the few questions were asked from engineering mechanics. If we compare manufacturing, metrology, inspection, material science, industrial. Okay, so combined there were 8 for 12. There were 20 questions from these 4 topics. Previously from this 4 topics there used to be 25 to 20 questions. Okay, so there is not a major change, but what major change has been noticed is from material science there were more questions as compared to manufacturing. From material science there were 8 questions, and in manufacturing there were 6 questions this time. Okay, so this is a major change that have been noticed. So from industrial the questions were only 4 questions, and that too from those topics that have not been imagined, like sampling and quality control like questions, and like question based on reliability. So these were some topics that from which industrial questions from industrial were asked. So this was a major change that have been noticed from industrial. Previously there used to be questions from inventory and or from queuing theory, or per 10 CPM, but this time there was not question from those topics. So this is a major change in industrial that have been noticed. Alright. Now from hydraulic machinery and fluid mechanics. Fluid mechanics and hydraulic machinery, there were total 14 questions this time. Previously in 2018 there were 20 questions and 17 there were 17 questions. So this time there is a decline in the number of questions that were asked from fluid mechanics and hydraulic machinery. From machine design, there were 13 questions this time from machine design, and previously there have been a huge jump in machine design, because previously there used to be 8 and 4 questions in 17 and 18. In 18 there were 4 questions, this time there are 13 questions from machine design. Theory of machine and vibration. Theory of machine and vibration, previously in 18 there were 15 questions and in 17 there were 24 questions, but this time there are 13 questions from theory of machine and vibration. From strength of material. Strength of material, if we see strength of material, previously there used to be 10 questions in 17-18, this time there are 12 questions, so not a major change. But renewable is the subject that is the point to be concentrated, or the subject for concentration is renewable, because in 18 there were 1 question from renewable, in 17 there was only 3 questions from numerical, but this time there are 12 questions from renewable source of energy. Okay, so this is a major change that have been noticed from renewable. Okay, so there the more question from renewable and machine design this time. So these are the question that subjects that were asked in majority this time in ESE 2019 prelims of mechanical. Now let's see what is the topics from which the question were asked from these subjects, and what is the weightage to theory question and numerical question. So if you see thermodynamics subject, there were total 6 questions from thermodynamics, as I have told you, and out of those 6 questions there were 5 numericals from thermodynamics, and the topics that were covered were path function, point function. There was a theory question from this topic, available energy, work done from non-flow process, mixture of ideal gases, steady flow energy equation. There were 2 questions from 2 numerical from the steady flow energy equation from thermodynamics. Okay. From power plant, there were total 19 questions, and those 19 questions, there were 9 numericals from power plant. And the question that were asked from Rankine cycle, reheat and superheat, chimney and chimney draught, there was a numerical on chimney draught. There were questions on velocity triangle. There were questions from nozzle, impulse and reaction turbine. Okay, so these were the topics from which questions were asked from power plant engineering. If you see IC engine, there were total 6 questions, and those 6 questions, there were 4 numericals from IC engine. Okay, and the numerical was, there was a question on diesel engine efficiency. Okay, so I will tell you how to solve. If you see, there were more numerical this time. So in the end of this video, I will tell you how to solve the numerical type question. I will tell you the tricks for that. Okay, now there was a question on diesel engine efficiency. There were question on engine performance parameter, in which you have to calculate mean effective pressure and number of misfire. Okay, the 2 questions were from this topic, and there was a question from combustion chamber theory. Okay, from refrigeration air conditioning, there were total 8 questions, and out of those 8 questions, there were 3 numericals. Okay, and the question were from vapor compression refrigeration system. Electrolux refrigerator, there was a theory question on this Electrolux refrigerator. There were questions from psychometry and reverse Carnot engine. So these were the topics from refrigeration and air conditioning. If you see heat transfer, as I have told you, heat transfer is the only subject that has maintained its consistency from 17, 18 and 19. The only 7 questions were asked from heat transfer, and out of those 7 questions, there were 4 numericals from heat transfer subject, and the question were from convection heat transfer, and then there was a question on Prandtl number. There was a theory question. There was a question from Wien's displacement law, and there were questions from condensation and boiling, theory question from condensation and boiling, and a numerical question on view factor. Okay, so condensation and boiling, there was 2 questions from condensation boiling, so that is also an important thing that you need to know. From engineering mechanics, there were only 2 questions, 1 numerical from kinematics of particle, and the question was not that much easy. You need to put a lot of time in solving the question. And from translation rotation, there was a theory question on translation rotation from rack and pinion type question, in which you need to tell what is, if rack is moving on the pinion, then whether it will be a translation motion or rotation motion. Okay, so this was a question from engineering mechanics. If you see fluid mechanics and hydraulic machinery, there were total 14 questions, and in those 14 questions, 11 questions were from fluid mechanics, and out of those 11 questions, there were 8 numericals. Out of 11 questions from fluid mechanics, there were 8 numericals, and from hydraulic machinery, there were 3 questions, and out of those 3 questions, there were 2 numericals from hydraulic machinery. Okay. So the questions were from losses in pipe, buoyancy and flotation, impact of jet, flow in pipe, in which you need to calculate the, there are question on laminar flow in pipe. There was a question from kinematics, hydraulic efficiency, pipe in series, and hydraulic efficiency. There were questions on this. Okay. So these were some topics from which the question were asked from fluid mechanics and hydraulic machinery. From mechatronics and robotics, there were total 18 questions. Out of those 18 questions, 15 were from mechatronics, and from those 15 questions, 3 were numericals. Okay. And from robotics, there were 3 questions, out of which 1 was numerical type question. Okay. And the question were from microcontroller, program counter content, in which the question were from LIFO, FIFO, that is last in first out, first in first out. So you need to, why I have write these topics here? Because you should know that these were topics from which question were asked. Okay. So if you don't know about this last in first out, first in first out, last in last out, and first in last out, you need to study about those topics. Okay. PLC programming, the question from PLC programming, there were questions from attenuation, actuator, robotics, controller, degree of freedom of robot, there was a question on degree of freedom of robot, there was a question on sensor, multiplexer, encoder. Okay. So these were the topics from which question were asked from mechatronics and robotics. Okay. So as I have told you in the beginning also, the questions from mechatronics were numerical. There were total 4 numericals from mechatronics and robotics, and they were out of 18, 14 were theory questions. And out of those theory questions, 6 were assertion and reason type questions. So you can see what is the major change that have been noticed is major weightage has been given to mechatronics subject this time. From manufacturing, there were total manufacturing, metrology inspection, material science and industrial engineering, there were total 20 questions. Okay, and what major change have been noticed is from metrology inspection, there were 2 questions. Usually there has to be question from fits and tolerance from from manufacturing, but this time there were 2 questions from metrology inspection, and the question from metrology inspection was on roughness number, to calculate the roughness number, and 1 question was calculating the Brinell hardness number for indentation process. Okay, so this was the 2 questions, and those 2 questions were numerical type question. From manufacturing, there were 6 questions. Out of those 6 questions, there were 4 numericals. From material science, there were total 8 questions. Okay, so the major weightage was given to material science this time in ESE 2019, and out of those 8 questions, there were 2 numericals from material science. 1 was from phase change diagram and 1 was from electrochemical machining. Okay, and industrial engineering, there were total 4 questions, and those 4 questions were numerical. And this time from industrial, the previously trend, seeing the previously trend, the question was used to be asked from inventory and per ton CPM, but this time the question was from sampling and queuing, from quality type questions or reliability. So these were some questions from which the question were asked. And if you see the topic, there was a question on Curie point, there were question on atomic cracking fraction, there were question on properties of alloy, there were question on crystal structure, phase diagram, there was a numerical on phase diagram, there were question on welding numerical, metrology, there were 2 numerical questions, 1 from roughness, 1 from indentation, you have to calculate the Brinell hardness number. There was a question from electrochemical machining, there was a numerical on that, there was a numerical on rolling, there was a theory question on CIMS, in which you have to tell what is the flexible manufacturing. Okay, there was a question on CIMS, computer integrated manufacturing system. There was a question on inventory control, NPV. There was a question on sampling theory. Okay, so these were the questions from which manufacturing, metrology, material science and industrial questions. Okay, if you see machine design, there were total 13 questions this time, and out of those 13 questions, 7 were numerical. Okay, the topic was static and dynamic loading, theory of failure, design of bolt theory, bearing, shaft, brakes and clutch. Okay, so these were topics from machine design, and there were total 13 questions from this year from machine design. From theory of machine vibration, there are total 13 questions, and out of those 13 questions, there were 3 numericals. And the question was from inversion mechanism, balancing, governor, cams and follower, gear, in which the question were from pressure angle, involute profile. From vibration, there were question on longitudinal vibration, there was a numerical, and there was a theory question from transverse vibration. Okay, so these were some major questions. Now if we talk about the strength of materials, from strength of material there were total 12 questions, and in those 12 questions there were 9 numericals. Okay, now from strength of material, the question were from deflection, elongation of bar, thermal stress, bending stress, shear force and bending moment diagram. There was a theory question on that, and pressure vessel. Okay, there was a question on pressure vessel in sphere. Okay, spherical pressure vessel. Okay, if we talk about renewable source of energy or renewable energy sources, there were total 12 questions, and out of those 12 questions there were 2 numericals. Okay, so this time major change have been seen in machine design and renewable source of energy. There were 13 and 12 questions this time, and in the renewable there were 2 numerical questions. Okay, so the question was from heat pipe, fuel cell, solar collector. There was a lot of questions from solar collector this time, solar measurement, solar air heater and solar water heating. So these were the topics from which the question were asked. Mainly the question was asked from solar collectors or solar measurement devices. Okay, so this was the pattern, or this was the analysis of ESE 2019 paper of mechanical. Now what is the conclusion that we have formed from this analysis? If we see this time, friends, in 2019 there were major questions in every subject. If there are 12 questions, there are at least 6 to 4 numericals this time. So more numerical type question this time. Now if we see engineering services like examination in which no calculator is allowed, how you are going to solve the numerical type question? And that too I am telling you, those numerical were not that much easy to solve without calculator. Okay, so how you are going to solve the questions? If there will be less question from assertion region and more question from numericals, and this will be the same trend in the next year, there might be a possibility. Okay, you can't know the trend before the paper. Okay, so maybe this next year also the same trend will be there. There will be more question from numerical. So there is a short trick that I want to tell you. If you know in the elementary classes, you used to remember the tables up to 2 to 20 and on the tip of your fingers. Okay, so this time also what you can do is you can remember some important tricks to solve mechanical questions, and that is you need to remember the roots up to 20. Okay, so just make a note on a paper, okay, and just write the roots up to 20, 1 to 20 roots, and just paste it on the wall of your room. Okay, same you need to do for any power variable power 1.1 to 1.5. Okay, so suppose that there is a question on 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 1.1 to 2 to the power 1.6. You need to remember that. Okay, and just write it. And further you need to remember the reciprocal or fraction type questions. Okay, so for solving fraction type question, just write 1 to 20 fraction. Okay, so you should remember the 1 to 20 fraction. Okay, so if you know, if these are some small tricks to cope up with such type of change in pattern in which the more questions are from numerical. So you can do this small exercise, and what you can do is just every end of the day you need to just go through those formulas, that is exponentials and square root and fractions. Okay, just need to go through that those notes, and in the examination what you will see that when this such type of question will come, you will have a major hold on those such question, numerical type question. Okay, so you can solve them easily, because if calculators are not allowed and you to solve such big questions without calculator, so you should have some tricks for that. Okay, so these are small tricks that you can do to get good marks in ESE paper. So this was a trend. This was the analysis of ESE 2019 prelims examination for mechanical engineering, and you can also find the similar video for ESE prelims paper 1, that is for GS and engineering aptitude, in our YouTube channel. And you can like this video if you have liked the content that is given to you. You can like this video. You can also comment if you have any query, and you can subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends. So this was the message from my side. Thank you and have a good day. Thank you.